The Alari homeworld glowed blue and green against the blackness of space. 4 billion Alari looked up at the stars in fear as the massive Krax fleet arrived. 500 warships formed a deadly sphere around the planet, weapons aimed at the surface. The Galactic Council sent desperate messages calling for peace. The Krax ignored them. From his flagship, Sub-General Vexkar broadcast his ultimatum to the human fleet racing to reach the planet. Deathworlders, you have 1 hour to agree to our terms. All human ships must leave galactic space immediately. All knowledge of humans must be erased from Council records. Earth will remain quarantined forever. If you refuse, the Alari homeworld dies. On the bridge of the Intrepid, Admiral Clark and Captain Miller reviewed their options with grim faces. We have 26 ships against 500, Lisa Garcia said quietly. Even with our superior technology, those odds are impossible. Miller studied the tactical display. We need more time. Admiral Clark's expression hardened. Then we'll make time. She opened a channel to Vexkar. This is Admiral Susan Clark of Earth. We request a face-to-face meeting to discuss your terms. Vexkar agreed, believing the humans were ready to surrender. While the Krax prepared for the meeting, Miller gathered a small team. This is a volunteer mission only, he told the assembled officers. Our chances of survival are minimal. Every hand in the room raised. Miller selected 5. Lisa Garcia, 2 tactical specialists, and 2 Alari telepaths. What's the plan? Lisa asked as they boarded a small stealth craft. While Admiral Clark keeps Vexkar distracted with negotiations, we infiltrate his flagship, Miller explained. The Alari telepaths will help us stay hidden. Our goal is to reach the main reactor and set it to overload. A suicide mission, one of the specialists said quietly. Miller nodded. If we succeed, the explosion should disrupt their command structure long enough for our fleet to target their key ships. The small craft slipped away from the Intrepid as Admiral Clark's shuttle approached the Krax flagship for talks. The infiltration began well. The Alari telepaths sensed patrols before they appeared, allowing the team to avoid detection. They reached the lower levels of the massive ship where the reactor controls were located. Almost there, Miller whispered. Then an alarm sounded. They've detected us, Lisa warned. In the diplomatic meeting room, Vexkar received an alert. His eyes narrowed at Admiral Clark. You tried to deceive me. I'm just buying time, she replied calmly. That's what humans do. Vexkar hissed in fury. Then you will watch your people die. He activated the ship's communications. Begin the bombardment. Destroy the Alari world. But before the order could be carried out, a new alert sounded. A massive fleet had just emerged from jump space. Not human ships. Dozens of vessels from across the galaxy. Volani, Ceph, Mithra, and many others. Species that had watched and learned from the humans. Species that had found their courage. This is the Galactic Defense Coalition, announced the Volani commander. The Alari are under our protection as well. On the Krax flagship, Miller's team fought their way to the reactor controls. Krax soldiers fell before human determination and fighting skill. Miller took a hit to his shoulder, but kept moving forward. Set the charges, he ordered as they reached the reactor room. We need to give our people a chance. The battle raged above the Alari homeworld. The human fleet attacked the Krax formation with precision strikes, targeting command ships. The coalition fleet followed their example, focusing fire on key targets instead of spreading their attacks. Vexkar watched in growing horror as his perfect plan collapsed. These were not the weak, peaceful species he knew. They fought like humans now. The flagship's reactor began to overload. Emergency alarms blared. Evacuate. Vexkar ordered, abandoning his grand strategy. As the flagship exploded, the Krax fleet fell into chaos. Without central command, they broke formation, became vulnerable. And the Deathworlders showed no mercy. Hours later, Captain Miller stood on the bridge of the Intrepid, bandaged but alive. His team had escaped in the confusion. The cracks are retreating across all sectors, Lisa reported with a tired smile. We did it. Below on the Alari homeworld, 4 billion people looked up at the sky. Where once there had been only fear, now there was hope. They had begged for help, and the Deathworlders had answered with firepower. 2 weeks into the human offensive, the galaxy watched in amazement as news spread of one crack's defeat after another. The species that had terrorized the Alari with impunity now found themselves hunted by the Deathworlders from Earth. On the Galactic Council station, George Washington worked tirelessly to build a coalition. He moved from one delegation to another, speaking with representatives who had previously been too afraid to oppose the cracks. The humans have destroyed 17 crack spaces, the Volani delegate said, his containment suit rippling with cautious interest. Perhaps we should reconsider our neutrality. The cracks threatened us all, George replied. They just started with the Alari because they were the easiest target. In another meeting room, Captain Miller and Admiral Clark reviewed the latest battle reports with Elder Zotic and several military observers from other species. Your tactics are disturbing, said a tall, insect-like being. You target their command ships first. You attack at night. You use deception and misdirection. We use every advantage, Miller explained. That's how humans fight. But there is no honor in such methods, the observer protested. Admiral Clark's voice was firm. There is no honor in genocide either. We fight to win, not to follow rules the enemy ignores. Deep in crack space, the Intrepid led a battle group toward a heavily defended research station. Intelligence gathered by Alari telepaths suggested this facility held important secrets. Lisa Garcia studied the station's defenses from her tactical station. Their shields are stronger than we've seen before. This place matters to them. Miller nodded. All the more reason to find out what's inside. Begin the approach. Full stealth mode. As the human ships moved closer, an Alari telepath on the bridge suddenly gasped in pain. What is it? Miller asked. Fear, the Alari whispered. Great fear. They know what you are now. They have studied the Deathworlders for years. This new information raced up the chain of command. At the council station, Kate Daniels connected the final pieces. It makes perfect sense, she told Admiral Clark and the council leaders. The cracks have been observing Earth for decades. They knew humans would eventually join galactic society. They feared us. Why? Elder Zotic asked. Because of what we are, Kate explained. Adaptable, aggressive, protective. Everything the cracks are, but stronger. They saw us as the only real threat to their plans for domination. So they attacked the Alari to prevent them from warning us. Lyrian asked. Yes, the Alari telepaths sensed the cracks' intentions during routine trade meetings. The cracks couldn't allow that knowledge to reach Earth. The assault on the research station revealed the full truth. The Intrepid and its battle group fought through heavy defenses and boarded the facility. Inside, they found decades of research on Earth, surveillance logs, biological studies, military assessments. They've been watching us since our first space missions, Miller said as he reviewed the data, planning how to eliminate us before we could become a threat. As this news spread, the human offensive pushed deeper into Crack's territory. But Sub-General Vexkar had one final desperate plan. The Crack's Supreme Command gathered on their most powerful warship. The humans must be stopped, Vexkar declared. They advance too quickly. Our forces cannot match their tactics. What do you propose? Asked Grand Marshal Zexkor, the highest Crack's military authority. Vexkar's scaled face showed no emotion. We will take our entire fleet to the Alari homeworld. If the humans do not withdraw completely from galactic affairs, we will destroy the planet and its 4 billion inhabitants. The Grand Marshal considered this. The humans have shown they will fight to protect the Alari. Exactly, Vexkar hissed. And that is their weakness. They care about others. We do not. The order went out. 500 Cracks warships began moving toward the Alari homeworld. When the humans detected this massive fleet movement, Captain Miller faced an impossible choice: pursue their successful offensive or race back to protect the Alari. "We can't be in both places," Lisa said quietly. Miller's jaw tightened. "Then we protect those who called for our help. All ships, set course for the Alari homeworld. Maximum speed." The final confrontation was about to begin. News of the human victory spread across the galaxy. The council chambers buzzed with excited and fearful conversations. Species that had watched in horror as the Alari were systematically destroyed now saw a glimmer of hope. Admiral Susan Clark stood before the emergency council session. Behind her, Captain Miller and his senior officers waited quietly. The battle at Pax 3 was just the beginning. Admiral Clark told the gathered representatives, "Earth is sending additional ships and resources. We did not come here to fight a defensive war." Elder Zotic's eye stalks quivered with concern. "What do you mean, Admiral?" "I mean," Clark said firmly, "that humans do not wait for the enemy to choose the time and place of attack. We're taking the fight to the Cracks." Murmurs of shock rippled through the chamber. "That is not our way," a crystallite being protested. "The Council has always sought peaceful resolution." "The Cracks have killed 3 billion Alari," George Washington pointed out. "They are not interested in peaceful resolution." Admiral Clark activated the central hologram, displaying a star map. "Our forces will strike these Cracks military installations first. We'll disrupt their supply lines and communications. Then we'll target their main fleet concentrations." The council members stared at the aggressive plan with a mixture of horror and fascination. "This is the thinking of predators," someone whispered. "Yes," Admiral Clark agreed without apology. "Humans evolved as both predator and prey. We learned to hunt, and we learned to survive being hunted. Both lessons serve us now." On the other side of the chamber, Kate Daniels worked with a group of Alari scientists. They had been studying Cracks biological samples recovered from the battle. "I think I found something," Kate said, looking up from her microscope. "The Cracks' respiratory system is remarkably inefficient. They process oxygen poorly compared to humans." "How does this help us?" asked Jaxil, who had become a liaison between the humans and Alari scientists. "It means they tire quickly in sustained combat. Their biology isn't built for endurance. No wonder they prefer quick, one-sided massacres." This information was added to the growing human battle plan. 3 days later, the expanded human fleet departed the council station. 26 warships, now carrying small groups of Alari volunteers with their telepathic abilities, headed toward Crack space. The council watched them go with mixed emotions. "We may have released something more dangerous than the Cracks into the galaxy," Elder Zotic worried. Ambassador Lyrian stood beside him. "They fight for us, not against us. That makes all the difference." Deep in Cracks territory, Sub-General Vexcar received the reports of the defeat at Pax 3 with cold fury. "These humans," he hissed to his commanders, "are the very threat we have been working to eliminate." His second-in-command looked confused. "But they come from Earth, not Alari space." "Fool." Vexcar struck the officer across his scaled face. "The Alari discovered our plans for Earth. Their telepaths sensed our intentions when our scouts visited their worlds. That is why we had to eliminate them before they could warn the humans. But now the humans are here anyway," another officer pointed out. "Yes," Vexcar growled. "Our worst fear realized. But not too late. Recall our extermination fleets. Concentrate our forces. The Deathworlders must be destroyed before more arrive." Little did the Cracks know that human ships had already penetrated their outer defense network. Using stealth technology developed for Earth's own wars, the first strike team approached a key Cracks supply base. On the bridge of the assault ship Defiance, Lisa Garcia studied the target. She had been given command of this mission by Admiral Clark herself. "All teams ready," her tactical officer reported. "Weapons hot." Lisa took a deep breath. On Earth, she had trained for war, but never experienced it. Now she would lead the first human offensive in alien space. "Begin the attack," she ordered. "Show them what happens when you threaten those under human protection." The Defiance and its companion ships decloaked and opened fire. The stunned Krax base had no time to react. The counter-offensive had begun. The Krax battle group moved through the PAX-3 system with complete confidence. 6 heavy cruisers and 12 smaller attack ships formed a deadly net around the peaceful Alari colony. The Krax had performed this operation 27 times before. Always the same result. Always without resistance. From his command chair on the lead ship, Commander Dreskor watched the planet grow larger on the view screen. Begin the standard approach. Target orbital platforms first, then communication centers. "Sir," his sensor officer called out, "unknown ships entering the system." Dreskor turned with mild curiosity. "Council observers." "No, sir. 7 vessels of unknown design. They're moving to intercept." The commander laughed. "Some brave council species decided to die with the Alari. Position our ships tow." "Sir." The sensor officer's voice rose in alarm. "They're powering weapon systems unlike anything in our database." On the bridge of the Intrepid, Captain Miller stood calmly as his ship led the human battle group toward the Krax forces. "They've spotted us," Lisa reported from Tactical. "Their ships are adjusting formation." "Open a channel," Miller ordered. The communications officer nodded. "Channel open." "Sir." Miller spoke clearly and firmly. "Attention Krax vessels. This is Captain John Miller of the Earth Defense Force. You are attacking innocent civilians. Withdraw immediately, or we will respond with force." A harsh, reptilian face appeared on the view screen. "This is Commander Dreskor of the Krax Dominion. Your interference is noted. Unknown species. Leave now or be destroyed with the Alari." Miller's expression hardened. "You've never encountered humans before, Commander. I suggest you reconsider." The Krax commander hissed with laughter. "We have destroyed 27 colonies. Your 7 ships do not concern us." The channel closed. "They're targeting us," Lisa reported. "Weapons charging." Miller took his seat. "Battle stations. All ships. Defensive formation Delta. Remember our primary objective. Protect the colony." The human ships moved with precision, their formation shifting to create overlapping defense zones. "They're firing," Lisa called out. The Krax weapons flashed across space, energy beams designed to terrify the peaceful species of the galaxy. But human ships were built differently. "Minimal impact," Lisa reported. "Shields holding at 92%. On the Krax command ship, Dreskor stared in disbelief. "Impossible." "Fire again. All weapons." The second volley did little more damage than the first. "Our turn," Miller said quietly. "Target their weapon systems only." Fire. Earth's warships responded. Precision-guided missiles and energy weapons struck the Krax ships with devastating effect. The human weapons, designed to fight other humans, tore through the Krax defenses as if they were paper. 2 Krax ships exploded immediately. 3 more spun out of control, their weapons disabled. "What is happening?" Dreskor demanded as his ship shuddered under the assault. "How can they be so powerful?" "Sir, we've lost half our attack force already," his second-in-command reported in panic. "Their weapons are unlike anything we've encountered." In the colony below, millions of Alari watched the sky in amazement. For the first time since the war began, Krax ships were falling. The Deathworlders had arrived. On the council station, the representatives gathered around the tactical display in stunned silence. They watched as 7 human ships decimated a Krax battle group that would have overwhelmed any council fleet. "They fight differently," Elder Zotik whispered. "Not just their weapons, but their tactics. They coordinate perfectly," Ambassador Lyrian observed. "Each ship supporting the others. Like predators hunting in a pack," another council member said with a shudder. The battle lasted less than 20 minutes. When it ended, the Krax fleet was in ruins. Commander Drescor's ship, heavily damaged, turned to flee. "They're retreating," Lisa reported with a small smile. "The colony is safe." Captain Miller nodded. "Send medical teams to the planet and inform command that we've made first contact with the cracks." He paused, "and that they're exactly the bullies we thought they were." Across crack space, an urgent message spread from ship to ship. "Beware the new species. Beware the Deathworlders." The hunters had become the hunted. Captain Miller studied the tactical display in the Intrepid's war room. Around him stood his senior officers and several Alari observers. The holographic map showed the remaining Alari worlds and the advancing Cracks forces. "Their attack pattern isn't random," Lisa Garcia said, pointing to the display. "They're systematically moving inward, cutting off escape routes." Miller nodded. "Classic siege tactics. They're herding the Alari toward their homeworld for a final strike." The Alari representative, Turval, shuddered visibly. Unlike Ambassador Lyrian, he had never wanted human involvement. "Your species thinks first of battle strategies. This confirms our fears." Kate Daniels touched his thin shoulder gently. "We think of protection first. The strategy serves that goal." "How many ships does Earth plan to send?" Turval asked. 7 are here now," Miller replied. "Admiral Susan Clark is bringing another 12. 19 ships against the Cracks fleet." Turval's voice quivered. "The Cracks have hundreds." George Washington studied the intelligence reports. "Quality over quantity. Your data shows the Cracks have never faced serious resistance. Their weapons are designed for terror, not ship-to-ship combat." "Our weapons were designed to fight other humans," Lisa added, "and humans are much harder to kill than Cracks." Turval looked even more distressed by this statement. In another section of the station, Lisa had started training a small group of Alari volunteers. They moved awkwardly in the protective suits humans had designed for them. Again, Lisa ordered, "Form the defensive line." The Alari tried to hold the heavy shields, but their arms trembled with the effort. One young male, Jack Sill, dropped his shield with a clatter. "I cannot," he said, his large eyes downcast. "Our bodies were not made for this." Lisa knelt beside him. "Then we adapt. Your people have abilities humans don't. You're telepathically linked, right?" Jack Sill nodded. "We sense each other's presence and basic emotions. It helps us coordinate without speaking." "That's an advantage," Lisa said with growing excitement. "You don't need to be warriors. You need to be our eyes and ears, a connected network that can warn us instantly of danger." For the first time, the Alari looked hopeful. On the command deck, Admiral Susan Clark's fleet arrived. The Admiral herself transferred to the station immediately, tall and commanding with silver hair and piercing eyes. She had fought in Earth's last major conflict. "Captain Miller," she said, shaking his hand firmly. "Your initial assessment." "The Cracks are bullies, not soldiers," Miller reported. "They've grown complacent killing those who can't fight back." Admiral Clark reviewed the tactical display. "Then we'll give them a nasty surprise. Our fleet will deploy in 3 groups to maximize coverage." Elder Zotic and several council members listened from the doorway, their expressions troubled. "You speak so casually of combat," one council member said, "as if violence is natural." Admiral Clark turned to face them. "For humans, preparing to defend against threats is natural. We evolved on a world where something was always trying to kill us. Weather, predators, disease, even other humans. We survived by fighting back." "And you enjoy it," Elder Zotic observed. "No," Miller corrected. "We don't enjoy killing, but we take pride in protecting others." A warning alarm sounded. A young human officer rushed into the room. "Admiral, Captain, a Cracks battle group has been detected attacking the Alari colony on Pax 3. Estimated civilian population, 8 million. Miller and Clark exchanged glances. "The Council has instructed us to observe only at this stage," Elder Zotic reminded them. Admiral Clark's expression hardened. With respect, Elder, humans didn't cross the stars to watch innocent people die. Your fleet isn't authorized, he began. Begging your pardon, Admiral Clark interrupted, but the Alari asked for our help, not the Council's permission. She turned to her officers. Battle Group Alpha, prepare for immediate departure. Miller nodded to Lisa. Ready the Intrepid. Full combat protocols. As the humans rushed to their ships, Elder Zotic's eye stalks quivered. They act without consensus, without debate. Ambassador Lyrian watched the humans with newfound hope. Yes, that is exactly why we call them. The massive Galactic Council station hung in space like a shining wheel. Its gleaming arms stretched outward, housing representatives from dozens of species. The 7 human ships appeared at the edge of the system, their arrival causing immediate alarm. Unknown vessels, identify yourselves, came the nervous transmission from the station. Captain Miller leaned forward in his chair. This is Captain John Miller of the Earth Defense Force vessel Intrepid. We are responding to the Alari request for assistance. A long silence followed. Finally, proceed to docking Bay 12. An escort will meet you. The Intrepid moved toward the station while the other 6 ships maintained their position at a respectful distance. They're scanning us heavily, Lisa said from her tactical station. Reading energy signatures, weapon systems, everything. Miller nodded. Let them look. We have nothing to hide. The welcoming party consisted of 6 different species. At the front stood Ambassador Lyrian, her blue skin shimmering under the station lights. Beside her, Elder Zotic's eye stalks swiveled nervously. Miller led his team from the ship. George Washington, Lisa Garcia, and Kate Daniels followed closely. The moment they stepped onto the station floor, the aliens visibly recoiled. Your gravity, Lyrian said, her voice soft with surprise. You move as if it's nothing. Miller looked confused. The artificial gravity here is much lighter than Earth. 1/3 of what you're accustomed to. Elder Zotic explained. Most species in the Council evolved on worlds with much lower gravity than your Deathworld. Kate stepped forward with a scanner. May I? Our data exchange was limited. I'd like to record some basic readings. The aliens stepped back nervously, but Lyrian nodded permission. Of course. As Kate scanned, her eyes widened. Captain, they weren't exaggerating. Their bone density is roughly equivalent to what we would consider severe osteoporosis. Muscle mass is minimal. Their internal organs have almost no protective layer. Is something wrong? Lyrian asked. No, Kate said quickly. Just differences. Elder Zotic floated closer on his gravity platform. Perhaps we should proceed to the council chamber. Many are waiting to meet the humans. The council chamber was enormous. Hundreds of representatives filled the tiered seating. The humans stood in the center, aware of all eyes upon them. We thank you for coming, Elder Zotic began, though many here question the wisdom of involving Deathworlders in our affairs. We're here to help the Alari, Miller replied simply. By fighting, asked a jellyfish-like creature. By killing. George Washington stepped forward. We understand your concerns. Humans have a complex history with warfare, but we've learned to channel our protective instincts. We fight when necessary to defend those who cannot defend themselves. A murmur ran through the chamber. Show them, Lyrian urged. Show them what the cracks are doing. The central hologram activated, displaying images that made even the battle-hardened humans flinch. Alari colonies burned. Civilians hunted down. No mercy, no prisoners. 3 billion dead, Lyrian said. And we cannot fight back. Why are the cracks doing this? Lisa asked. Elder Zotic's eye stalks drooped. We believe they found something on an Alari world. Something they want to keep hidden. What? Miller pressed. We don't know, Lyrian admitted. But our telepathic abilities sometimes allow us to sense intentions. Before the attacks began, Several of our sensitive individuals reported dark thoughts from Crack's visitors. Fear, anger, determination to eliminate a threat. Kate frowned. But the Alari aren't a threat to anyone. No, Elder Zotic agreed. But something they discovered might be. Miller looked at his team, then back at the council. We need more information. Access to your databases, star charts, everything you have on the Cracks. And then, Lyrian asked, hope in her large eyes. Then we do what humans do best, Miller said. We protect those who need protection, with whatever force is necessary. The words sent another wave of murmurs through the chamber. Most looked disturbed, but Lyrian and a few others showed relief. In a private observation room, a hidden figure watched the proceedings. His scaled skin darkened with anger as he activated a secure channel. Sub-General Vexcar, he hissed into the communicator. The rumors are true. The Deathworlders have come. The Intrepid hummed with activity as the crew prepared for humanity's first official journey beyond their solar system. Captain John Miller walked through the corridors, nodding to crew members who stopped to salute. Everyone felt the weight of their mission. Captain on the bridge, announced First Officer Lisa Garcia as Miller stepped through the doorway. The bridge crew stood at attention. Miller waved them back to their stations. At ease. Status report. All systems green, Lisa replied. We're fully stocked with supplies for 6 months. Weapons systems are online and tested. Miller nodded and took his seat in the command chair. And our guests. The diplomatic team is settled in their quarters. George Washington is reviewing all the data we have on the Alari and the Galactic Council. Miller smiled slightly at the name. George's parents had a strong sense of patriotism and history. The man had spent his life living up to his famous namesake. Now, as Earth's first official diplomat to alien species, he'd make history of his own. And Dr. Daniels. Kate's in the lab, studying the biological information sent by the Alari. She says it's fascinating and terrifying how different they are from us. On the view screen, Earth grew smaller as the Intrepid moved toward the edge of the solar system. 6 other ships followed in formation. Together, they represented Earth's response to the Alari plea for help. In Washington, D.C., President Alan Rogers addressed the United Nations. Today, humanity steps onto the galactic stage, not as explorers, but as defenders. We have been called to help a peaceful species facing extinction. We answer that call with our unique strengths. The speech was broadcast across Earth as the fleet reached their jump point. We don't know what awaits us, the president continued. But we know this. Humans protect those who cannot protect themselves. This is who we are. In her lab aboard the Intrepid, Kate Daniels studied the Alari medical data. The aliens had sent information about both their own species and the Cracks. This can't be right, she muttered, checking the numbers again. The door opened, and George Washington entered. At 6'4", with dark skin and a powerful build, he filled the doorway. Despite his imposing size, his voice was gentle. Find something interesting, Doctor. Kate pushed her red hair from her face. The Alari have no natural defenses. Their skin is thin. Their bones break easily. They have no claws, no significant muscle mass. It's like they evolved without any predators at all. And the Cracks? Better, but still nothing like humans. Their data suggests most species in the galaxy evolved on worlds far more gentle than Earth. George nodded slowly. So the term Deathworlders is accurate. Very. We're built to survive conditions that would kill them instantly. Kate looked troubled. George, they may fear us when they see what we're capable of. On the bridge, Miller received the jump coordinates from Earth Command. The new drive technology was untested for long distances, but they had no choice. All hands, prepare for jump, Miller ordered. Communications, send final status report to Earth. Lisa Garcia moved to stand beside her captain. Do you think we can make a difference against the Cracks? We're only 7 ships. Miller's eyes remained fixed on the stars ahead. The Alari said the cracks have never faced a species that fights back. Sometimes, surprise is the best weapon. The countdown began. 10 seconds to humanity's first big step into the galaxy. What if we're not welcomed by the Council? Lisa asked quietly. We weren't invited to join their peaceful club, Miller replied. We were called to fight. That's what we'll do. The jump engines engage. Space twisted around the 7 Earth vessels as they tore through the fabric of space-time. Meanwhile, at the edge of Alari space, a Krax battle cruiser destroyed another colony ship. The Krax commander, Sub-General Vexkar, watched without emotion as thousands of Alari died. His second-in-command approached. Sir, we've detected unusual energy readings from Sector 7. Something is coming. Vexkar dismissed the concern. Nothing in this sector can stop us. The Alari are defenseless, and the Council is too weak to interfere. But, sir, these readings match nothing in our database. Then identify them, Vexkar ordered. The extinction schedule will not be delayed. Little did he know that humanity had received the desperate call for help, and they were bringing their answer. Firepowe. The stars twinkled in the vast emptiness of space as the small Alari ship raced toward the Galactic Council headquarters. Inside, Ambassador Lyrian's delicate blue hands trembled as she prepared the emergency transmission. Her large iridescent eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of extreme distress among her kind. We must hurry, she whispered to her pilot. Our people do not have much time. The Alari were dying. For 3 cycles, the Krax Dominion had systematically destroyed their outer colonies. The peaceful Alari, who evolved on a perfect garden world with gentle weather and few predators, had never developed weapons beyond simple tools. They had no concept of warfare, no understanding of violence as the Krax understood it. In the main council chamber, representatives from 37 spacefaring civilizations gathered for the emergency session. Most species in the Galactic Council had evolved on worlds similar to the Alari homeworld, places of balance and harmony. They traded, they explored, they studied, but they did not fight wars. The Krax fleet will reach our homeworld in 20 days, Lyrian said, her voice barely audible through the translator. We have lost 3 billion Alari already. We beg for assistance. The chamber filled with sympathetic murmurs, but no offers of help. The Krax representatives weren't present. They had stopped attending council meetings months ago. We offer sanctuary for refugees, said the Volani delegate, his gas-filled containment suit rippling with regretful colors. Sanctuary is not enough, Lyrian replied. We need protection. We need someone who can stop the Krax. Elder Zotik, the ancient Mithra who led the council, floated forward on his gravity platform. The species of this council evolved beyond violence long ago. We have no warships, no armies. We cannot help you fight. Desperation made Lyrian bold. Then we must look beyond the council. The chamber grew quiet. The quarantined worlds, she continued. Specifically, the Class 12 Death World in the Sol system. Gasps and clicks of disapproval filled the room. Humans. Elder Zotik's eye stalks twisted in shock. They are barely contained on their own planet. Their quarantine exists for good reason. They build warships. Lyrian persisted. They understand fighting. They might help us. Humans evolved on a world that should be uninhabitable, warned the Ceph representative, his tentacles waving anxiously. Extreme temperature variations, deadly radiation levels, constant natural disasters, and apex predators at every turn. Such conditions created monsters. Resourceful beings, Lyrian corrected. Adaptable. Strong. Elder Zotik moved closer. Lyrian, I visited Earth once, before the quarantine. I saw humans with my own eyes. They are predators to their core. Their bodies are dense with muscle. Their endurance is terrifying. They can survive injuries that would kill any of us. And worst of all, they enjoy conflict. They seek it out in games and entertainment, which makes them perfect for our needs, said Lyrian. The debate lasted for hours. Many council members left the chamber rather than consider involving humans in galactic affairs. But as reports came in of another Alari colony falling to the cracks, the remaining delegates reluctantly agreed to a vote. By the narrowest margin, permission was granted to send a transmission to Earth. In her quarters that night, Lyrian composed the message. How does one speak to Deathworlders? How does one ask for violence from a species so contained they were forbidden from leaving their own system? She wrote simply, People of Earth, we are the Alari. The Crack's dominion is killing our people, and we cannot defend ourselves. We beg for your help. We offer knowledge, resources, and friendship in return. The message shot through subspace toward the small blue planet that the galaxy had tried hard to forget. 3 days later, as hope began to fade, a response came. Message received. Help is coming. On Earth, the governments argued and debated, but the decision was already made. Captain John Miller stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Force vessel Intrepid, reading his unusual new orders. Well, he said to his crew, it seems we're finally going to the stars. And we're bringing our guns with us.